Hi guys, so this is a quick update on the last video. A lot of you said that the picture quality comparison should be done with the same lens and in roughly the same condition. So this I'm just doing an update to that, keeping that in mind. Now what you see here is this is the Z6 with a 50 mm in auto wide balance is auto 2, which keeps the warm um, atmosphere, and this is Z6II with the same lens in auto, as you can see here. So now, so what I see here is that, again, clearly, like I mentioned it before, that I see that it's more pinkish on the Z6II in auto wide balance in auto 2, whereas on the Z6 it is I wouldn't say it's yellow really, but I see less of that pink. Now one more thing to keep in mind here, just look at the background. There's a white wall, slightly off-white, but you see a little bit you see a little bit green here, you can see, and that could be the reflection of this green olive, or this is a green jacket. You see a reflection of that on the wall, but in this case here I'm seeing much less of that on the Z6II, and yeah, so that's one observation. Now if you zoom in, you see what I was talking about in the last video. You see that little bit of yellow here. You see that pink tone coming out more strongly in this, and I prefer this look. Now I'm not saying that the white balance has different standards in these two cameras, but if you leave it to auto white balance, the Z6 gets rid of some of that yellowish greenish tint, sort of. Z6II gets rid of that yellowish greenish tint that you see, some of that you see on the Z6. That the Z6II clearly has a preference. It's preferring to keep the yellow and the green out, because if I think about it, there is green in the atmosphere, in the environment. There is light that's reflecting off this jacket, going to the wall, coming back. It's happening there. So I would say this is a more realistic sort of image, and where this is actively trying to get rid of that, and trying to bring it to a more neutral white balance, and therefore you see that that green tint is not there in the background so much. If you look at the lips, again, I would see that the pink is a bit more accentuated here on the Z6 to this. Here the cheek, it looks more pinkish. So yeah, yeah, that's what you see with the 50 mm. You look at a comparison of 50 mm and 35 mm and see if they produce colors and tone differently. Mind you, this is shot at the same with the same settings. It was at 1/200th of a second, ISO 100 at f1.8. In fact, all the pictures are shot at that, and it's in the standard profile with no sharpening added or no sharpening decreased. Now this is the same test with the 35mm 1.8 Z lens. This is in auto white balance auto 2 on the Z6, and this is the Z6II with the same settings. Now again, you see the same thing. You see a bit more of that green in the on the wall, as you can see that there, and it's looking quite pleasant, and the skin is looking quite pleasant and warm, but you still see around look at the neck area, you see that little bit of yellow which you don't see on the Z6II, right? You see this being a little cleaner of that yellow green tint, which I find very interesting, because Nikon traditionally has had that slightly yellowish sort of color, and which often I didn't like. You can clearly see this. Look at the difference between the on the neck. It's somewhat more accentuated. It's obviously you see the jacket surrounding her here, right? Obviously whatever reflection is there, that's on the skin here as much as it is there, so there's no difference. As I said, the lighting is exactly same. There is light coming from the window here, reflected sunlight coming from the window. There's a like open area here, and there's a soft box with the Godox SL60 on, and she's also holding a reflector and reflecting some of that window light back onto her face. So as you can see, again, like I said before, this looks a bit more devoid of that yellowness, which which is very difficult to notice if you are actually not comparing it side by side. But when you have taken 1,000 shots, you'll probably notice it in some cases. So I think it is good to know. I mean, I see that, especially the background, the difference in the background becomes clearer now. Yeah, much clearer. You see, this one is much clearer than this. Even if I look at this area, there is a bit of color there. It's not exactly white, but I think it's much cleaner here than how this one looks. Now this is with a 55mm. Right, now this is again with the 55mm. This is the Z6II at a fixed Kelvin value of 5500. This is 50mm, not 500mm. And this is again the Z6 with the 50mm at the same temperature. Now first I would like to begin with the background first. I think that is where I find it very interesting how the background is actually looking different. As you can see clearly, this on the Z6 is cleaner than the Z6II is cleaner than the Z6. What I mean by cleaner is basically the white balance is different at the same Kelvin value. What this tells me is that overall the Z6II is a bit cooler overall in tone. It's a bit cooler, and while being cooler, it's taking out some of that green, some of that yellow, and making the skin look actually more pleasant. It's adding the red is a bit more towards orange and pink, which I really like because it makes you look more lively. So this was what I was waiting for, to really see the same lighting, the same lens, and at a fixed Kelvin value, how is the camera reproducing the skin and the overall situation. And same here, as you can see, as we saw in the last couple of tests, I see that the skin here is on the Z6II is it doesn't have that yellow. I mean, at least I can't see it. I don't know if I'm being able to see the difference. I can see that there's a bit more pink in this area than there is here, and in this area around the nose you can see a little bit yellow sort of tone. I don't see that here. I see a far more neutral color, as if a veneer of yellow has been removed from the Z6 and you're left with this image here on the Z6II. It's more pleasant. It's a better starting base to work with. I shoot a lot of pictures with JPEG Fine Star, so this is a really helpful starting base. I'm sure you will see the same thing playing out whether you're looking at standard profile or neutral profile. Doesn't matter or if you're going for the portrait profile, you will see the treatment of the camera play out in these fixed Kelvin values, and which is very important. I very often use a fixed Kelvin value of 5500 or 5600, somewhere between 53 and 5600. I often use that. So this is very interesting to note. And yeah, so let's move on and see how it looks on the 35mm. And let's look at the difference between the 35mm and the 50mm to sort of rule out any potential difference between the lens. I know that Nikon claims that their the 1.8 series of lenses maintain a similar picture quality in all their primes, and because they're keeping filmmaking in mind, where you need to have uniformity in the output of all the primes, and they're looking at them as something that creators will use to film, and they have the cinematographers and the filmmakers in mind. So I believe them. Now let's see if there is any difference. So now let us compare the 50mm with the 35mm on the Z6II, and both are the same settings and the same Kelvin value of 5500. This is the 35mm clearly, and this is the 50mm. Now looking at it, I really don't see a difference. There's a significant difference in the framing, in the sense that you see a lot more of the environment here. You see a lot more area with this with the window, but I really don't see a difference. In fact, if I sort of zoom into this picture, if I zoom into the picture, I see I'm looking at the wall there, and there is hardly any difference in the if you look at till this area, right till this area, there's hardly any difference. And of course the skin looks a bit more vibrant here for some reason. Let me see. I don't know why. I've noticed when I zoom in, then I see the pictures, the vibrance of the picture, the saturation somewhat comes down on this laptop. This is the M1 MacBook Pro, the new version. So but anyway, so I see that there is no difference other than the skin tones or in the color of this white or the red, whether you look at the skin here on her neck, or if you look at the background, I don't see any difference. So for all practical purposes, I think when it comes to color rendition, both the 50mm and the 35mm are actually practically identical. So that settles it. So the rest of the comparison that we saw tells me that the Z6 with how it renders the skin is a bit cherrier, and it makes the skin look more lively and fresh, more alive, and that there's none of that green and yellow tinge. And I think therefore that it's a significant improvement, and I'm quite happy with that. A lot of people might say that I shoot raw and all that. I'll correct it later on, but when you're shooting enough you want to do minimal editing, because the hours that you put in editing and getting everything correct are the hours you're not probably shooting, and you're just spending that time to correct an image that the camera could have done a better job of reproducing. Anyway, so please subscribe if you like this. So I hope that clarified a few things for you guys, and I hope this settled some of the doubts that were raised last time. Happy to be of help. Please write questions down below. Please let me know what else we can discuss on this channel. It's a new channel. Please definitely subscribe. Kindly subscribe. You don't have to pay if you subscribe. So yeah, see you again. See you around. Thanks a lot, and have a great new year. Thank you.